Hello, hello. I'm Rachel. I have hamsters, and I am back with another episode all about what's going on in my hamster's life, in your hamster's lives, and I'm so happy to be here with you as always. I'm recording in a new room, and I suppose that's part of why I haven't been here for a while. I moved houses, same area, but yeah, we moved houses. And I'm now in this sort of partially finished basement. Actually, I would say it's mostly finished. Yeah, mostly finished basement. I have carpet where I'm at. It's kind of a storage room, but I've been using it as an office slash storage room. And I just want to see how this feels as far as like a recording area. I feel like there's a lot of soft surfaces, but maybe I need to soften up a few more surfaces here. And hopefully it's not too echoey, but we'll see. And that move is really what's kept me, well, that move, among other things, has kept me from being here as much as I would have liked to be here. But it does come with some exciting upgrades in my life. The move is, I'm just happier in this space. It's just a better space for me. But I also think it's a better space for my hamsters. And it's not really bigger. Yeah, it's just better. So basically we have this like little kind of finished basement, and I'm using the storage room that we put carpet in and is kind of finished as my office slash sewing area. And then I have my hamsters. There's an egress window and like a little bedroom. And I have my hamsters in there. So it's not really a bedroom, it's just an egress. It's a room with an egress window. So even though it is in the basement, it has an egress window, so there is natural light. And I've been kind of debating how I feel about my hamsters being in the basement. I was kind of worried. There are a few concerns I had. So I was worried about mice getting in and then having to make sure that the mice don't get in my hamster enclosures. Because it is a basement and I live in the Midwest, mice just get in. That's a thing that happens. I was thinking about setting up like some of those humane traps just to make sure they don't get in my hamster cages. But I also have been mindful of trying to make sure like, I don't think the mice could climb up. I did some research about mice and like what they can climb and not climb. I have, pretty much all of my hamsters either on a table or underneath, but if they're in a bin cage, it's 17 inches high, and I believe that's a little higher than a mouse can jump, and they can't really easily climb plastic. So I believe they should be safe down here for mice. I don't think that should be too much of a concern. The basement is mostly finished, so not super concerned about like bugs or anything, but just kind of just general normal amount of concern. And then the other concerns I had, natural light. I mean, hamsters do need, like any living animal, even though they are crepuscular and, kind of depends on the hamster, really. Some hamsters are very crepuscular. Some hamsters are just like, only when it's pitch black do they come out. But I am aware of the fact that they need natural light in their life. So we do have this big egress window. So there's a fair amount of natural light. But I have also been turning on the light in the room during the day just to make sure they have some access to that. Just to kind of, trigger like, okay, I come down here, I go to work, I turn on their light. So I think that's going okay. I'm not sure. We'll find out. The other thing that is a little bit of concern is making sure it's warm enough down here for them. In the summer, it's going to be great because I won't have to worry about them getting too hot, which is always a concern. But in the winter, I think making sure it's warm enough down here is going to be a concern. Even now, I mean, it's April. I live in Michigan, where April still means it's cold out. And I have been running a space heater in their room. It's just really hard to make sure that part of the basement is warm enough. I also have a little temperature gauge to make sure it stays between 65 and 75 degrees. I find without the space heater, it's closer to 65. So I've just been warming it up to about 70. I just think it's a little more comfortable, particularly because I have elderly hamsters and I just don't want them to be too cold. So that has been another concern, but working through that. Um, the thing that I love about it, though, I love having my hamsters down here because they're kind of out of the way. And one thing that I struggled with in the past, having my hamsters sort of integrated into my life, in my bedroom, in my upstairs office when I used to work upstairs. Honestly, I had hamsters everywhere. I had them like in my office, in the hallway. But one thing that's tough about that is when I had friends over and friends with, honestly, even just friends, but friends with kids, I find kids up until, I mean, I think one child who's like maybe 8 or 9, I think there can be some very mature 6-year-olds, right? But particularly when there's more than one kid, if there's two of them, there's like an energy that comes with that, and then some fighting over the hamster that can happen. I had some kind of scary incidences with adults and kids when my hamsters were out in the open. I had some kids who went and grabbed Dexter. I didn't know they had him, and they were like walking around with him, and then he got hit in the head with like a door. I mean, it seems like he's fine, but it was really scary for me. And I mean, mostly because I felt so bad. I'm here to give them a good life and protect them from harm. And, and one of them, one of them nearly got very, very badly injured. Yeah. And so I'm not trying to say that like kids are bad with hamsters as a blanket statement. I think people in general just like don't know what to do with them. They're very delicate. I think people misunderstand how delicate they can be. Or I had another instance where I had a playpen on the ground in my apartment, and somebody walked in and sort of like tripped on something and like fell into the playpen, and thankfully did not squish a hamster, but there was a hamster in there, and that was a little scary too for me. So it's hard because there's just not a lot we can do for hamsters when those kinds of injuries happen, right? If they break a leg, it can be life-ending for them, really. So that was very scary for me. So what I like about having my hamsters in the basement now, and that room also has doors on it, so I can close the door. I can have people over. They never have to know I even have hamsters. And that's the thing. I do kind of segment my life. I have people who know me well know that I have hamsters. I don't know that they know the extent of my hamster life. But I try to keep it sort of closed. And if I'm going to let somebody into my hamster worlds, I just want to do it and prioritize making sure that the hamsters are safe, right? So really happy about having them have their own space. One thing I'm struggling with though right now is because they are in a room of their own, and I'm now no longer working amongst them. In the past, I always like had hamsters all around me, which was kind of distracting, I will admit. Because every time Dexter came out, or Thor came out a lot. I mean, any of the hamsters I had who come out a lot. Lately, it's Ella. Ella comes out all the time now. Oh, excuse me, someone's calling me. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. But anyway, so I'm no longer surrounded by my extroverted hamsters, or my introverted ones, for that matter. So I haven't been able to, I feel like a little bit disconnected from them. So I've been trying to think of ways to combat that. For a while, I had turned off my Waze notifications. Is it Waze? Wise? The Wise Cam notifications, because I just felt like I was constantly distracted at work. But now I turned them back on, and I think I'll keep like maybe a little bin in my office for like, oh, Dexter's out, he can come in the little play bin. I was thinking about making it like a dig area, like just filling it with coconut fiber, maybe like half coconut fiber, half cork granules or something interesting with lots of cool cardboard or something. So yeah, I've been just thinking about that. I think I do like being in an office where my background is a little more professional, because I think in the past, I didn't always tell people that they were hamsters behind me. I suppose it just kind of looked like terrariums or something. But yeah, it is nice. And maybe if at some point I have fewer hamsters, I can have like a second desk in the hamster room so I could move my computer sometimes and work amongst them if I feel like it. But yeah, I mean, is what I'm playing with for now. So I'm curious about all of you. Where do you keep your hamsters? What works for you? Have you ever kept them in a basement with like a good window? Have you ever had issues with mice? I I don't have any reason to believe that we have issues with mice, but it is normal that a mice would try to come in when it gets cold. So just a thing I'm thinking about. Yeah, would love all your thoughts. So please leave me a comment or send me an email if you'd like. So that's been going on with the moving situation. On top of that, I also had Maurice, and Maurice had his eye problems. I had to give him multiple eye drops every day. I'm going to go get those eye drops. I want to say what they are exactly. Okay, so for those of you wondering, or if you have an elderly hamster who has dry eyes, basically, and this is what my vet told me to do. So just relaying what I did. I used a combination of just regular saline water, really simple. She was very specific that she wanted me to like stay with just plain saline with no additives. And so actually it's hard to get that for eyes. So I just have a saline nasal spray. And basically I would just kind of, because his eyes would like crust over, I would just sort of, put a few drops of the saline nasal spray like over his eyes and let it kind of soak. He would usually like rub it in, right? So that would help kind of like decrust them a little bit. He was a pretty easy to handle hamster, so I could kind of like hold him sort of down a little bit. Like if I just put my fingers around him, I could hold him still just to get those eye drops on there. If I had wanted to, I probably could have taken a Q-tip and tried to clean him up. Although he kind of did it himself, so I didn't bother to do that. Excuse me. And then after about 5 minutes or so, once the saline spray, once he had kind of rubbed it in, then I would use this stuff called Genteel Tears, and it's a lubricant eye drop. It's just the plain Genteel Tears. I think there's a lot of versions of it, but it's just the regular ones. And those, then I would give him a drop in each eye. It's very difficult to get it in the eyes, but sometimes I figured as long as I got it around the eyes, he kind of rubs it around, and that seemed to help a lot. So I had to do that twice a day for Maurice. And something I'm going to think about in case I have another hamster with dry eyes, which I actually, now that I think about it, I have had other hamsters with dry eyes, but I don't think I understood what it was. And because it looks funny, it's like their eyelids start to kind of like peel out. It's very strange looking, and I didn't understand it. Your hamster will not enjoy this, probably. I mean, Maurice, by the end, he was, I would usually give him a treat, let him sit there and eat the treat, and then I would put the eye drops in, but he would often chatter at me. He really didn't like this, but it did help. And if I did this twice a day, it kept him from getting an eye infection. If I didn't do it, his eyes quickly got irritated red and then turned into a pretty bad infection, to the point that they, weren't fully open. So that was pretty rough. So in case you have a hamster like this with dry eyes, or if you've had some other treatment, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if you've dealt with this with your hamsters or how you dealt with it. I'm always all ears. Would love to hear from you guys. So that was my treatment for Maurice up until last week. Unfortunately, last week was the end of Maurice's life. I was actually going to bring him back to the vet because I felt, what was going on with him? I wanted his teeth checked out and also just his nails trimmed. But mostly I just wanted his teeth checked out because I felt like he was making some funny noises when he ate, although he was still eating. But he was mostly eating baby food by the end. And I came down to bring him his baby food. I guess it was about a week ago, maybe on a Friday. And he was just laying there outside of his multi-chamber hide. And it's funny, we are so used to seeing them full of life that I didn't even really register him right away. I actually picked up the lid of the multi-chamber hide looking for him to give him his food. And then I realized he was right in front of me. He was still warm. I picked him up because I wasn't sure, can I help him? Is this a situation, maybe he got too cold? Again, like I was talking about them being in the basement, I've been worried about, even though the temperature hasn't gone below 65, I have been worried that keeping it in the 60s is a little too cold, so I've been trying to keep it more in the 70 range, or closer to 70, but, I got worried. Maybe it's too cold, you know, whatever. Maybe I took too long to bring him his baby food. Maybe he's gone into shock or something. So I held him for a while. I tried to get him to eat something, and nothing. So that was it for Maurice. But he lived a good life. I think, or a pretty long life. I hope a good life. He was, let's see here, I got him in February of 2023, and he was probably a few months old at the time, maybe 3 months. So let's say his birthday was December 22. So he lived, about 2 and 4 months. I will say that's about the longest I've had a hamster live. Of course, I'm always guessing on how old they actually are when I get them, but I haven't really had a hamster get past 2 and change. So it's not bad. He's a very sweet little guy. I wish I'd handled him more. Maybe I could have gotten him out of his shell. You always have those like, oh, did I do enough? Did I give him a good enough life? I think mostly he kind of enjoyed being on his own. So I didn't really know him super well. Yeah, but I loved him, and he was very photogenic. I mean, just the cutest little hamster when he did come out. So Maurice, you will be missed, and I am way behind on keeping my hamsters updated on my website. I need to get back on my website. I realize there's so much stuff that's like half completed or not completed, and I really wanted this beautiful, like a little bio and like a picture of all my hamsters and when they lived. So I need to work on that. I also need to figure out what to do with him as far as burying him. I did in the past have these little wooden gravestones, but they've kind of disintegrated over the course of the winter. So I was thinking about switching to like a stone as a gravestone, like some engraved. I like it when it's like a little picture of them and then like the years that they lived. So I was thinking about doing something like that and having that in my sort of little yard. But I'm curious what you guys do when your hamsters die. Do you use a little wooden marker or a little stone? Let me know. I mean, if there's a great Etsy artist, I would love to support them. So I would love to hear your recommendations. If you have any, send them my way. Yeah. So that was Maurice. And then, so now that we're in the new hamster room, I haven't set up the omelet playpen again. I took it down, but it's still kind of, I have like half of it kind of in one corner and I haven't quite set it up again yet. So I will get to that. But for right now, just because I wanted to get a playpen set up quickly and it was just so busy trying to get all my hamsters, comfortable. And then I had Maurice and his medical issues. I just have the nylon playpen going back up. And instead of doing the full fairy tale theme, which I do want to come back to and do like pink castle, pink stuff, Prince Charming kind of thing. But for now, I decided to go with a mushroom, sort of enchanted mushroom forest theme. I'm sure I've done something like this before, but this is maybe more mushroomy. Every time it's a little different. And it's inspired by Happy Hamster and Me box, which I decided to subscribe to. After like several rounds of just shopping on their website, I was like, you know what, I should just subscribe to the box. And part of that too was I was starting to run out of ideas for playpens, and then I thought, oh, this is nice, like this will give me some ideas, and if there's something I don't need, I can always donate it to a rescue, etc. So I figured it's not, I was a little worried that I'd end up with too much stuff or not the right stuff for me, but then I realized I can always pass things along that I don't need, and I also just kind of wanted to support the Happy Hamstery and experience what the Hamster and Me box is, and so far it's been really fun. I love all the little interesting treats. It's so interesting how some of my hamsters like really take to certain things. Lemonade, my one-eyed hamster from Happy Horizon Hamster Haven, she really loves these like green, I don't know what's in them. Maybe it's like a hay-based treat. They're very hard. They're kind of like, they can look very beautiful with like flowers on them. I think I got like a lollipop one from someone. Maybe it was the Happy Hamster box or Happy Hamstery. I honestly can't remember, but she loves those things. So I got a few of those in this box in this season's Hamster and Me box, and gave them to her, and she just munches on them. So that's great. So it's always fun to see who takes to what, and I think the thing about hamster treats, and each hamster is very opinionated. So, so you never know. And having treats that your hamster likes really comes in handy when they have medical issues. Like I just said about Maurice. Getting his eye drops in him was quite a problem, and it took me a while to figure out. Well, I kind of knew he really liked tofu, so that was a big one. So giving him tofu while I put eye drops in, that was really helpful. So knowing what your hamster's treat weakness is helpful, and also having variety on hand is very helpful too, because your hamster will start to remember that when you give them a certain treat, they get medication. So then you have to mix up the treat. They're smart. They're very smart. Speaking of very smart hamsters, my hamster Dexter has also now had some eye problems. It was like as soon as Maurice passed away, suddenly it was like Dexter had the same issue. And I think, Dexter's getting older. I got him in January of 2024. It's now April. So I've had him like a year and 4 months. He was probably 6 months when I got, he's getting close to 2. His mobility is pretty good. But he's definitely less active than he was. He doesn't like come out begging to come out as much as he used to. I mean, he was constantly like hold me, bring me somewhere, He's much more subdued than he was when he was a little young man. And he started to get the dry eye thing. So I was giving him the saline and the genteel tears. But then this crazy thing happened, and maybe this was unrelated, I don't know. But then he seemed to get this abscess, like in his eyelid or underneath his eye. I did get him to the vet on Monday this week. It happened really fast. Like it was like I noticed the dry eye for like a week, and then on Friday maybe I noticed that like one eye was starting to get kind of irritated, like a little red and crusty, and I was like, ooh, this isn't getting better. So I called. I made an appointment for Monday, and by the time I got to Monday, the eye was like almost like full of pus. It was crazy. Both vets actually looked at him because they were like, oh, we don't know. They gave me an ointment to put on his eye. They told me to, try to clean the eye, try to, use the saline spray and the antibiotic ointment. They also gave him an oral antibiotic because it was pretty bad infection. Dexter, I love him. He is easy to handle. It was actually kind of funny at the vet appointment. The vet said, wow, I just put my finger in his mouth and he didn't bite me. He is quite a teddy bear, but he's very wiggly. He's not like Maurice. Maurice, I could get him to like hold still. Dexter like never holds still. Even if I have him like kind of all my fingers around him trying to keep him from going anywhere, he's just constantly wiggling. This is very challenging to get the eye drops in his eye and clear out his eyes. But you do what you have to do. And I did my best. It's been a week. I think the hardest part of this whole thing was getting him to do the antibiotics. He would not take the antibiotics from the syringe. I tried various different treats for him. I tried baby food. I tried pea baby food because he really likes those split peas, those hard peas. Would not touch it. I tried egg. He would like take a bite of the egg, but he wouldn't eat enough of the egg. Finally, what I've been doing is putting the antibiotic on the split peas, and he's been eating. I mean, he does kind of like take the shell off the pea, but for the most part, he eats the pea, and I think he's getting some in it because his eye does look better. I don't fully know what happened. At some point, it looks like it got bigger, the abscess, and then now it's flat again. It's still quite red around his eye, but at least he can open it. So I'm assuming at some point that pus or something was released, came out. Maybe he worked on it. He was pretty avoidant of me over the past couple days because, of course, he doesn't love having eye drops put in him. And he doesn't love the medication. So, it's a challenge. But it does look better. Not fully better, but that's the road I'm on right now, is trying to work on his little eyes. So if you see photos, I've been taking pictures of him. A lot of what I've been doing is I take him out, I put him in the playpen, and then I let him kind of run around. Usually he stops, he eats a snack, and when he's snacking, that's when I find my moment to try to get an eye drop in there, because it's almost easier to do it that way than to try to hold him, because he still wiggles his head like crazy. Yeah, and then I've been taking photos, and so you'll probably see some photos of Dexter with a weird looking eye. But that's just what, sometimes elderly hamster care is. And yeah, I try to share all the parts of it. So that's Dexter. So now I think those are all my updates, really. I think, I was thinking in my head, like, oh, maybe I should, maybe as my hamsters get older, I'll kind of dwindle things down and have a fewer hamsters, spend more time with them. I always say that. And then this rescue I've been following posted a photo of a hamster, a little young hamster that they're looking to get adopted. And I was like, oh, maybe not. Maybe I'll get another hamster. Oh, I'm such a sucker. But speaking of that rescue, so I wanted to spotlight a rescue today called the West Michigan Critter Haven. I printed things out today, so you can probably hear the paper. I normally just kind of like have things on my iPad, and I'm like, oh, here are my notes. But today I printed things out. I'm going to see if I'm a little more on top of things from this. So West Michigan Critter Haven back in March posted that they were really struggling. They needed fosters or financial donations or adoptions, that they were just overwhelmed. A lot of rescues go through phases like that. And I think, rescuing is hard. I think rescuing is especially hard with animals like bunnies, that need a lot of care and space, and they live quite a long time. I think that's very challenging. And the West Michigan Critter Haven, they do all small animal rescues. So they have guinea pigs and bunnies and all that stuff. But they do, but if you are in the Michigan area and you want to be a foster, they sometimes have hamsters. They often have rats or mice. And of course, guinea pigs, rabbits. So if you are interested in being a foster, they would love that. If you'd like to donate, I'm sure they would love that as well. Or just give them a follow on Instagram, give them a follow on Facebook, share. Sharing goes a long ways. It gets them some, maybe someone who didn't know about them sees them in their account. The more follows that they get, the more their account will sort of, get tipped up in the algorithm or whatever, how it works. So the more that you can give those posts some love, the better it is for them. So I encourage you guys to do that. You can check them out. Their Instagram account is WMI, so West Michigan Critter Haven. And I actually shared one of their hamsters today, the one that I'm like, maybe I want this hamster. But somebody else should take this hamster because she is adorable. She's friendly. She looks so sweet. Totally my type of hamster. I mean, I like all types of hamsters, but she's a little dwarf hamster. She's brown. I just love those little guys. So that was kind of it. I think I printed out some messages from them saying what they needed. They've been, let's see here, they've been around since 2009. I think primarily rabbits are their big thing, but they do all sorts of small animals. So yeah, please go follow them. I'll keep sharing their posts, but let's give them some love. That's my rescue of the week. I mean, I guess the episode. I'll say episode. Hopefully I'll do more of these on a more frequent schedule, but the rescue of the episode is the West Michigan Critter Haven. All right, so now on to a few email questions. I printed these out as well so that I would remember exactly what they said. So I have one came from a woman named Yelena, and I hope it's okay. I'm going to just say first names. So if you write me an email and it's a question, if you don't want me to say your first name, but I don't think, I'm not sharing any more details. So I will preserve your identity otherwise. So Yelena says that she got a Syrian male and she tried to educate herself, but she still had some questions. And the first one was about bedding. So she's asking me, she used KT Clean and Cozy, but then she said someone told her it doesn't hold tunnels well. So then she tried to lasagna style in some of what kind of hay did she use? Mountain hay with dandelion. So she says she did this, but then she noticed that the hay had quite a few sharp straws in it. So she handpicked them out. And then she said someone else told her that hemp holds tunnels better. And then she said, then I looked at your website and I said the hemp doesn't hold tunnels. And so she's just feeling super lost as to what to do. So let's take this one by one. KT Clean and Cozy. I love paper bedding. I think paper bedding is like the staple bedding for me. I always use white bedding. Sometimes I use Small Pet Select. Sometimes I use KT. Other brands now have it, like Night Angel has bedding, has paper bedding. Taffet Bet has paper bedding. Does Bucastat also have paper bedding? There's lots of options for paper bedding. And of course there's Carefresh too, which has a slightly different texture. I have used Carefresh, but I don't like it as well. I don't want to say that officially. It was fine. I think I like Clean and Cozy a little better. But I know people who love Carefresh. Nothing specific that I could say about it other than I just prefer Clean and Cozy. I find Clean and Cozy holds tunnels really well. I do not find that other beddings hold tunnels well. This could be also based on where I'm at. I'm in the United States. In other countries, the beddings are kind of different, the way they process them, the way the wood is, the way the hemp is, all that stuff. So I'm just saying this based on what's available to us in the United States. I find that paper bedding holds tunnels the best. And then I use other substrates as like additional textures, something that they can dig in, other parts of the cage. So hemp, I find, does not hold bedding well. You could mix it with paper bedding, like 1-for-1, and then, but I still think then it's like you're kind of depleting the hold of the tunnels if you're mixing it. I used to do that. I used to mix paper bedding with either aspen or hemp. But I found that it just kind of didn't work as well. And it seemed like it annoyed my hamsters, specifically Steven. Steven like hated the hemp and would like pick it out and like kick it out of his nest. So I realized that my hamsters really just love paper bedding, particularly in their nest area. So I at least have half the cage be paper bedding. The hemp, maybe I use that as a bottom layer, or I sort of use it on one half of the cage, where there's maybe the wheel, or like it would be a part of the cage where there's not going to be as many burrows, but they can dig in it. It's great for digging. It's very lightweight. It's very soft. I love hemp. If you're choosing between using hemp and aspen, I would say use hemp, but that's just my opinion. I think aspen is a little sharper. It's a little less soft. I love hemp. Hay, this thing about how people lasagna in hay layers, I never really understood it. I've tried doing it. I don't really think it's that effective. I mean, I guess I get the logic of it, but I found that my hamsters didn't like it. Actually, maybe Syrian hamsters are a little more resilient, but my dwarf hamsters, some of them, Laverne in particular, was like scared of orchard grass hay. Which is not technically a hay, it's actually a grass. But I used to try doing that lasagna thing with orchard grass hay, where you put in like a layer of paper bedding and then the orchard grass hay. And what I found is that my hamsters then wouldn't burrow past the orchard grass hay because the hay like freaked them out. So in short, don't use hay. If you're going to use hay, if you really want to use another hay-like substance, use orchard grass hay. I love Small Pet Select orchard grass hay. I think it's really high quality. But you don't want to use regular hay, Timothy hay, because it's very pokey. So that's one thing. I love paper bedding. I think paper bedding should be a majority of your enclosure, or at least half of the enclosure for tunneling and for nesting. And then you can use other substrates like hemp, like aspen. You could use cork, coconut fiber, whatever. And I think it's great to have those in I use these really big, I don't always do this, but I started using these really big kind of like refrigerator containers, and I'll just put like aspen in one of them, or not aspen, hemp in one of them, and coconut soil in another one. And that way it kind of keeps the substrates separated a little bit, so I can, pick one up and replace it, clean it. But it gives your hamster exposure to all these different textures. You can sprinkle seeds in there, flowers. They'll go crazy digging in it. They love it. So I do recommend using those additional textures, but I don't recommend mixing them with paper bedding. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You can do it if you want. I just don't think it really benefits. There's like a point in it. And I found that my hamsters, and every hamster is different. I found that my hamsters did not like that. So that's the end of that question. I'm curious what you guys think, though. Please send me your thoughts about what you use for bedding, paper bedding, hemp. what holds tunnels, let me know. And then I got another question. See, I have multiple questions because it's been so long since I've been here. I probably had other questions that I forgot to print, but this one is from a woman named Katie. She's actually a professional pet caretaker, and I wish she lived near me because I would totally hire her. This is so cool. She has a whole business, and I love how she's taking on this initiative. She has a client who's looking to rehome a hamster, and the hamster is a biter, and she wants to know how to help work with the hamster, how to make it bite less, and so basically, this is kind of the sum of what I said. I said some hamsters just bite. I mean, I think that is true. Some hamsters are aggressive, and there's not a lot you can do about it. But you can change their circumstances, and often when you make those changes, they will soften up, and the more you work with them, the more they will become more handleable. I've definitely had hamsters, like Dexter used to be kind of bitey, and now he doesn't bite at all. So it happens. So basically I said, you want to make sure he has a good wheel. You want to put him in at least a 200-quart bin. You want him to have lots of enrichment, meaning lots of opportunities to find food, hunt for food, seed sprays, puzzles, boredom breakers, lots of burrowing. And then in addition to that, I think playpen time out of the cage is greatly beneficial. I find that that's where I make the most progress with my hamsters, and when I get them out of the cage. And for some hamsters who are territorial, that's a great way to interact with them because they will kind of turn off that part of them that is territorial when you bring them out of the cage. I also mentioned that you want to keep your hamster away from loud noises or other stressors like small children, loud TV, any other pets or smells of pets. So if you have a cat in the house, I mean, first off, I do not recommend having cats and hamsters, but if you have that situation, make sure your hamster is behind a closed door. Don't let your hamsters be exposed to that stress. I mean, just think about it this way. If you were living in your house and there was a Tyrannosaurus Rex that constantly looked in your window, I think you would probably be pretty stressed, and you might bite someone who stuck their hand in your cage, right? Or your house. I guess I got to stick to this this allegory. Right. So, and then I linked to, I think there's a great video from Victoria Rachel that she did about enrichment. I share this video a lot when people ask about how to socialize their hamsters, how to make their hamsters more happy. I think she did a great explanation of what enrichment means. Enrichment is a lot of things, and it's kind of thinking about the greater needs of your hamsters past just like they have food and water, like how and how giving them these opportunities to feel engaged and stimulated can actually change the way they interact with you and make them happier and make your relationship with them even better. So I think it's a really great video to share. So that's it. So if you guys have any thoughts about biting hamsters, please leave me a comment, write me an email. Would love to hear from you. And that's all I have for today. Those are my updates. I am going to do some interviews, chats with Tony from Snow White's Rescue Cottage, and also Aaron from Cheeks and Squeaks, the breeder in Southern California. They both are a powerhouse in the hamster world in Southern California, and I mean, honestly, in the whole U.S., because the California Hamster Association is the only hamster association in the United States. So I'm going to chat with them about how they've worked together breeding, the California Hamster Association, how they met, how they got into hamsters. So if you have any questions for them, let me know. Send me an email, write a comment below, whatever it is, however you want to do it. Would love to hear from you, or you can message me on Instagram. My email is rachelgothamsters@gmail.com. And then Instagram, it's Stephen and Sophia Hamster. A little funny. I've never changed it. But I will link all that below if you want to contact me and let me know if you have any specific questions. Probably we'll do a few discussions because I feel like they have so much knowledge about hamsters, and I would really love to have the space and time to address it all. So really looking forward to chatting with them, and so excited to share that with all of you. So thank you for coming back for another episode, even though I was gone for 3 months or 4 months. I don't know how long it's been, but too long. And I will be back again with you soon. Hope you are having a wonderful spring with you and your hamsters, and I hope to hear from you. Thanks so much for joining me today. Bye.